Hello everyone and welcome to the pre-season video of my F122 modded My Team career mode. We've got a couple of things to wrap up at the end of season 1. First of all, we see Valtteri Bottas announcing a retirement, so whether that's just going to be like a sabbatical or a full-on permanent retirement, we'll just have to wait and see. We have a couple of other things, some failed upgrades that we might as well get on the car before next season, some corporate sponsor stuff, but never mind all that, let's get into the meat and bones of it and see what the grid will look like for the next season. We'll start off with the teams that have kept things the same, one of which is BMW Williams. They spent the first season just testing the waters with that new BMW engine, and while it had some teething issues to begin with, it were a pretty reliable unit after those first few races, so they'll be looking to build on that this season with the same driver lineup of Alex Albon and Nicholas Latifi. Another team keeping things the same is Red Bull Honda. After winning the Constructors' Championship, they've taken the if it's not broken don't fix it approach and retain Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, although Verstappen will be a bit annoyed with himself after losing out the Drivers' Championship in the last couple of rounds. There is some big news however regarding their engine supplier Honda, announcing that this will be their last season in Formula 1, so Red Bull will be keeping their eyes open at how some of the other power units perform to think ahead for the coming seasons. Mercedes Monster bring a new livery this season, but that's the only change as they retain Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. They won a couple of races last season, so they'll be looking to mount an attack on the championship. One of the more consistent teams with that V8 power unit, which should be a good foundation for their campaign in this coming season. And now on to the spicy stuff, and after winning the Drivers' Championship, Charles Leclerc is more than happy to stay at the Scuderia, but Ferrari decided they had a chink in the armour with Carlos Sainz being the lowest point scorer of the top 3 teams. So they've used their partnership with Haas as their engine suppliers and swapped Sainz out for Kevin Magnussen, who was pretty impressive last season, pretty much being the best of the rest. So Ferrari hope to be challenging for both championships this season with their new pairing. Speaking of Sainz, he takes Magnussen's seat at Andretti Haas alongside Formula 1 rookie and Ferrari junior driver Robert Schwartzman. Andretti Haas are getting a little bit frustrated with the F1 politics and Ferrari having such a big influence on the team, but they can't argue too much as they were one of the better midfield teams last season, and with the experience of Sainz they'll hope to continue that form going on into this next season. Keeping with the theme of teams having an influence on other teams, McLaren become even more closely attached to Mercedes as they take on their sponsor Monster Energy on their new paint job based on that classic West livery. Ricciardo had a pretty disappointing season, so he's been dropped in favour of Mick Schumacher, who joins the Mercedes family alongside McLaren's own Lando Norris. A pretty young driver pairing, but with immense talent between them, it will be interesting to see how they perform. The outgoing Ricciardo joins the Audi project to replace Bottas, the team debuting their new Audi V8 power unit this season. The team still remains as Audi Sauber, as Audi are only technical partners and an engine supplier for the time being, stating that they want to see how the power unit performs before committing to a full works entry. They bring a new livery based on their Le Mans prototype race cars, hoping they can have as much success in F1 as they did in those early 2000s Le Mans days. And Audi aren't the only new engine manufacturer this season, as Toyota also debut their new V6 engine, which they developed based on their more recent Le Mans race cars. Lance Stroll stays put, but he's joined by Marino Sato, the Japanese manufacturer wanting a Japanese driver, and Sato had a pretty impressive start to his F1 career, scoring 2 points finishes in only half a season of racing. It'll be very interesting to see what Toyota can do this season. So the outgoing Sebastian Vettel goes back to where it all began for him as he joins Jaguar for what we will assume be the closing seasons of his almighty career. Jaguar obviously used to be the Toro Rosso team and remain as the Red Bull Junior team, and you'll see some Red Bull branding return to the car as well as some blue highlights as Bex use their Bex Blue alcohol-free branding on the new car. Red Bull also using Vettel as a kind of mentor for Yuki Tsunoda, who they retain for this season. So the outgoing Pierre Gasly, he joins Renault, or Lotus Renault as they are now known. The British sports car brand return again to team up with Renault just like they did some 10 years ago. Gasly joins fellow countryman Esteban Ocon for an all-French lineup powered by a French engine supplier. So then that just leaves us, and while Sato did do a pretty impressive job for us, I think it's time we get some experience on this team, and you'll see I did a pretty good job of saving up a fair amount of money this season, and that's because I want to get some experience, and we're going to have a look at signing maybe Fernando Alonso, the only driver left on the grid actually who were racing in Formula 1 when I first started watching it, so yeah, a little bit nostalgic for me as well, but I'd love to get Alonso on board. So yeah, we start off the negotiations with Renault, and yeah, they don't seem too bothered, to be honest, about keeping him. We chuck in a couple of small bids, but in the end, that's Alonso signed, so he will be racing for us in this coming season. We also hit Team Acclaim level 15, which means we can take on a third secondary sponsor. I'm going to go with Atlantic because as a team we have to complete a total of 75 laps during a race weekend. I think that's going to be easy enough for us to do, and you get a fair bit of cash for it. So yeah, they're going to be another sponsor we'll have on board. We also have some changes in terms of power unit supplier. We had a pretty dismal kind of mid-season with about 4 or 5 back-to-back engine failures in the middle part of last season, so yeah, I think it's definitely time we change, and we're going to go with BMW. It says V10, but it's a V8, that BMW power unit, and even though it were a bit ropey for their first couple of races, the power unit actually performed pretty consistently, at least for Williams, for the rest of the season, so we're gonna give that a try. We also take on Moon as our primary sponsor, and all we have to do is earn 25 constructors points. I think we pretty much did that last season already, but yeah, that's where it's going to be going into this next season. And you might have seen there the team name has changed, and that's because I'm very proud to present this new F1 myteam car livery. So we secure sponsorship from Robinson's Brewery using their Iron Maiden Trooper Beer branding on the side of the car, and I think this looks really cool, and I'm looking forward very much to driving this in the coming season. It should be good fun. So the only thing left to do then is talk about our season calendar as we go into this next season. A couple of changes. I wanted to keep things fresh and not have too many kind of repeats, and we have mixed up the order of things a little bit. So we start off at Bahrain, and then we go to Abu Dhabi, which is normally the season finale, but we have it quite early on, as we start off with this kind of theme of kind of keeping things continental. So we start off in the Middle East, then we go north up to Baku to start the kind of European leg, as we go into Hungary, and then to Imola, which replaces Monza this season as the Italian Grand Prix. They're kind of doing what they did with the German Grand Prix, where they switch it between Hockenheim and Nürburgring. They're doing that with the Italian Grand Prix. And then it's the jewel in the calendar, the Monaco Grand Prix. Hopefully we can finish the race this season. And then it's to Spa, and then Silverstone to finish out the first half of the season before the season break. We then have a short Iberian section with Circuit de Catalunya and Portimao, a new track on this calendar, and then we go across to start the American leg in Canada, and then the Miami Grand Prix, or the US Grand Prix at Miami, and then we go to Brazil to end out the kind of Americas before going to Australia, then heading north to Singapore for the penultimate round, just like we did last season. But we have the season finale at Suzuka, one of my favourite racetracks, so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. So yeah, that's I think that's everything. I'm gonna leave this table up just as an overview of all the different things that have happened from the last season going into this season. So it's all there for you in case you're confused or unsure about anything. But yeah, that's everything from me. I'm looking forward to this next season a lot. I do enjoy playing this game. It's a lot of fun, and I have fun making these videos. So hopefully you have just as much fun watching them and enjoying them and kind of following this story in my own little F1 universe. But that's it from me, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time for the season opener of Season 2.